Hare Krishna. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol to all the Prabhus and Matajis in Malaysia. I am humbled and honored by the invitation by Sangeshwara Prabhu to say something in this special year, the 50th year anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's coming to Malaysia. Now, the story of how I came to Malaysia starts in 1978. I was in London. I had joined the temple at Bhaktivedanta Manor in 1976, and I had met, at that time, Bhakti Vijendra Swami, Nandan Swami was known as Rajendra Kumar, as Brahmachari, and we met, and he was a very pleasant devotee, and he was a great book distributor. I had heard about him. When they heard I was from Malaysia, they said, "Oh, do you know the other Malaysian devotee? He's a great book distributor." So I was very fortunate to have met him. So later, Bhakti Vrajendranandan Swami was actually in Malaysia having to renew his passport. And he realized what a wonderful preaching field it was. And he knew that Srila Prabhupada had been there in 71. But devotees were not able to follow through because of visa problems that foreign devotees had. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada had left his mortal frame, and so Rajendra Kumar Prabhu, after having left Malaysia with his new passport, he was in Vrindavan with Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu, and they were both chanting in front of Prabhupada's Samadhi. And then in between they were talking about Malaysia and starting a preaching center there. And Prabhu Vishnu Swami said to Rajendra Kumar at that time, and he said, "Why don't you go to Malaysia?" And he said, no, I like to travel and I like to distribute books. You need somebody. He said, "Do you know any other Malaysians?" And he said, "Well, I've met this devotee in England, Ramcaran and his wife Janaki. And so maybe you should ask them." So Prabhu Vishnu Swami wrote to me, and he asked me if I would be willing to go to Malaysia to preach. And I discussed that with Janaki, and we both agreed that maybe it was a good time. We had only been devotees for a couple of years in the temple, 78, so we joined in 1976. We were initiated later in 76. So at first they didn't want to let us go. The GBC of England, Jayatirtha Prabhu, said, no, I think Ramsarana, you should stay here. But then Hansadutta Swami, who was then the zonal Acharya for Malaysia, came through after Mayapur in 78. He came to England, and I spoke to him, and he said, "I'll speak to Jayatirtha about this." And so Jayatirtha called me and told me that, okay, Ramsharan, you can go to Malaysia, but not this year, next year. And meanwhile, while you're doing life membership, half of the proceeds from life membership you can keep towards your starting a center in Malaysia. So that way, Janaki was also able to keep some of her Sankirtan funds, half of it, the temple held for us. And so in 79, we were ready to do the deed, so we went to Mayapur festival first to get blessings in Mayapur, Vrindavan. We also went to Jaipur, Dwaraka, Bombay Temple, Rishikesh. We basically went on a purification pilgrimage to prepare ourselves for this mission because we had no idea what to do and how to do. All we needed, we knew that we had faith in what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do. So we arrived in Malaysia in 1979 after the festival, and greeting us at the airport, we could hear Mahamantra, and we took that as a very auspicious beginning for Malaysia. It was actually a group of devotees who had come to meet some other devotee, sadhu from the Divine Life Mission. So that was my first introduction to coming into Malaysia. We will continue this in part 2 next time. Haribol.